Woke up this morning feeling fine. Got Man United on my mind. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Smash that like button. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, get involved in the comments. How are you feeling? Like Monday is the worst day of the week. When your alarm goes off in the morning, you have to go back to work or whatever you're doing with your day. It's absolutely miserable. Where I'm living at the moment as well, with the weather, like just a really, really dark, gloomy day. But it done I feel better with following that result and performance yesterday. And, you know, there is a feel-good factor that's come back to United. And shout out to Michael Carrick, Steve Holland, and the rest of the coaching team as well for bringing that back to life, because I've watched, a lot of other content creators. I've watched a lot of, Gary Neville, and we're going to run through comments from a few of them, Rio Ferdinand, etc. And it's not just me. Like, I thought I was getting a little bit giddy and carried away when I did my reaction yesterday, but actually I probably undersold how good the performance was and how good things are at the moment. So get involved in the comments. Let me know what you thought around the game, around the result. I just thought it was outstanding. Again, I just thought that it was a really, really top performance, because there was an art to defending as well. I know we're not necessarily dominating the ball as much, but we're playing two of the best teams in the league in a position where Carrick's been here for 10, 11 days or something like that, after the misery that was happening before, and the poor results and poor performances under Amorim, and getting knocked out of the cup and everything like that. So massive credit to them for turning things around and actually bringing that energy back. And yes, it's only 2 games, and we've always been capable of beating the big teams, even when we've been at our lowest and when we've been effectively really poor. But I think it's the manner in which we're doing it. And while we're not overly dominant on the ball, there's an art to defending. And I'm actually really enjoying the way the team is playing, because they are playing as a team and not 11 strangers on the pitch, which I've been very critical of this team before, saying that that's exactly what they look like, 11 strangers just all doing their own things individually on a pitch. But when you put them in a unit, I think there's something special in that as well. So yeah, I'm absolutely on cloud 9. Now, this has to be one of the funniest posts I think I've seen. My brother-in-law sent it to me on TikTok. Doggy best. That is, I literally was in tears crying at that. And I've still got Patrick Dorgu's goal on my mind anyway, that's for sure. And what an outstanding goal that was. Nothing better than a rocket that smashes off the underside of the bar. And Cunha's wasn't too shabby neither, was it? Let's be entirely truthful. But yeah, get involved in the comments. Like, I wasn't overly optimistic before the game. I would have took a point, being completely truthful with you. But my brother-in-law, speaking to him before the game, was quite positive. And maybe, we need to be on the positivity bus now. But big tests are going to come up now. We've got 3 of the games coming up where old United, normal United, would bottle it and drop points, and that's going to be the next test now, I think, for Michael Carrick and his coaching staff, is can we put in these sort of performances when we're the favourites, when we're expected to win, maybe when we're going to be a little bit more dominant on the ball and have a few more chances, and the pressure is on us effectively, and that's going to be the big test going forward. But get involved in the comments. Let me know what you thought about the match and the game yesterday. So let's actually go through some comments from the match yesterday. Statman Dave said Michael Carrick has as many points in his 2 games since being appointed Manchester United manager, 6 as Ruben Amorim managed in his last 5 games. And I think you couldn't have asked for a better start for Carrick, could you? And I actually thought Arsène Wenger did a really good analysis as well about the game. So he said, I think there is something going on in this United team, because the way they beat Man City and Arsenal today, the way they played was very convincing. When Arsenal comes back to 2-2, usually it's the home team who goes on to win, who win the game. And they found the game, the resources to score the 3rd goal and to win 3-2 away from home in a top-level game. I must congratulate Carrick. He has created something. And I thought that was a fair shout-out from Arsène Wenger to call it the way that it is, because when Arsenal did go to 2-2, how many times Amorim would have threw loads of defenders on, and it would have been easy to hold on to that lead. But Carrick made positive substitutions before that, because he wasn't settling for anything. In fact, when we were 2-1 up, before we conceded the 2-2, he'd brought Sesko and Cunha on. He was going for 3, and that's the Man United way. None of this, let's bring defenders on for defenders. Like we saw against Newcastle, where we have like 9 defenders on the pitch at one point in time, or something ridiculous like that, holding on to a 1-0 victory. No, you score 1, then you get 2. You score 2, you go for 3. You score 3, you go for 4. And we saw that against Man City. We had the ball in the back of the net 5 times. We scored, in my opinion, 3 legitimate goals, because I'm still yet to be convinced that the Mount one is offside. I've not seen any evidence to suggest otherwise. The only image that I've seen, Cunha looks onside to me, so I think they've bottled that one. And then three fantastic goals against Arsenal as well. So I'm still on cloud 9. Get involved in the comments. Let me know how you think. Smash that like button if you're still buzzing today as well. But I thought Arsène Wenger summed it up quite well, that, we've got good players, and if you play them in the right position, then who knows what can happen. But obviously with the results and the performances, but there's been a lot of talk already about Michael Carrick and the job, and for me, far too early. We've got bigger tests coming up. We need to see how we get on, for me anyway, over the next 3 games. Imagine if United Strand gets his haircut in Michael Carrick's first 5 games. I am genuinely wishing that happens. I genuinely hope, or I hope we win every game. I hope we win the next 15 games in a row, because that would be insane. But I generally hope that we can get 5 in a row and United Strand can get a haircut in Michael Carrick's first 5 appearances. If that happens, then Carrick should cut his hair at the centre circle after the match, or before a game at Old Trafford or something like that, because I think that would be hilarious to see and watch. So I genuinely hope that happens. But the big tests are going to be the next 3 games, because these are teams that we're expected to win, and I think we've got the players and we've got that bit. As long as we can stick together and stay as solid as we are when we don't have the ball. So I think I'm on the positivity train at the moment. So let me know what you think. But yeah, obviously a lot of clamour for Michael Carrick to get the job permanently. For me, far too early. I think we've got those. We need to see how he gets on over the next few weeks and months before even considering it. But regarding that, though, Wayne Rooney asked whether Carrick could be the right man for the job. He said, of course he can. Michael Carrick has got an opportunity to show Man United that he's capable of doing the job. And what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, of course, he has to have a consistency about his results and performances. But what we've seen is that he is very capable of doing it. If he carries on like this, there'll be a massive pressure on Manchester United board to put him in at the end of the season. I know that we've been there with Ollie before, but I think this feels a little different. And so that was Wayne Rooney effectively backing Michael Carrick. If he does well, then why not? Why not? Gary Neville, on the opposite hand, though, said that Manchester United have acted emotionally a number of times in the last 12 years. I honestly couldn't be happier with the last 2 weeks. The familiarity in what I'm watching feels like I'm watching my team play again properly. They played properly with intensity. I think it's right that Carrick keeps the job until the end of the season and then hands the baton over to Tuchel or an Ancelotti, someone of that world-class ilk. So Gary Neville still not for Michael Carrick. Same with Roy Keane as well. He said if United win every game until the end of the season, I still wouldn't give him the job. But we need to get, I think it's going to be giddy talk, isn't there? There's going to be excitement amongst the fan base and stuff. And I wouldn't be against. If Carrick does well, why would you not consider him for the job? As long as you still do your due diligence and still interview others, and don't do a knee-jerk reaction like we did with Solskjaer, because they did a knee-jerk reaction. They didn't identify other candidates. They just gave him the job. Why would you not? Why would you not look at Michael Carrick as a permanent head coach? Because the only argument I can see doing the rounds out there is, well, it didn't work out for Ollie, but you could say that with every manager. So you go for, an Ancelotti, a world-class manager that's won Champions League and won titles. Hello, Mourinho, didn't work out for Mourinho, did it? So it's the same argument that we could throw at you, if you don't want Carrick, or if you do want Carrick, or you want a Tuchel. Well, we've tried a Mourinho, we've tried a Louis van Gaal, who's won the Champions League and won titles everywhere he'd been before as well. We've tried those, and then you pivot maybe to someone like a De Zerbi, a hipster continental manager that's doing well in a different league, in a different country. I know he's managed in the Premier League, but at the moment he's not. He's in France. What you mean, like Eric Ten Hag or like Ruben Amorim? The reality is we have tried every single type of manager. The Premier League proven in David Moyes, the up-and-coming one, the one we hoped was ready to take the step up and add a bit of stability once Fergie left. Didn't work out. Louis van Gaal, the Champions League winner, the teacher, the one that could get United playing in that again. Mourinho, none of them have worked out properly. So the reality is, the only reason to not give Carrick the job is one, he's not the right candidate when you interview and you do all your due diligence and everything like that. or you think that the person you're getting in is actually better than him. That can be the only reason. So, the next manager we need to, in my opinion, he's got to fit the style of play that we want. He's got to be able to coach the players well, be tactically adapting games, invested in the youth development and create the right environment and get the best out of the players. And if Carrick's the right man for that, then fair play. I wouldn't be against doing that, but I just don't think we should. I think Gariner was right when he said we shouldn't be emotionally making that decision. It should be based on merit and, everything like that. But I think if Carrick does well between now and the end of the season, we get Champions League, we're back playing the way we are, the players like him, he gets on with the hierarchy. Why would he not be in contention for the job? Like, I don't see the viewpoint of not doing it just because it didn't work out in Ollie's last season. But Ollie did well the 2 seasons before, and when we finished third and second, like, he gave us some stability for 2 years, and is the only manager post Fergie to get us keep us in Champions League for 2 years. And I'd take a bit of stability at the moment rather than the chaos that's been going around over the last few years. So personally, I wouldn't be against it, depending on how he does, and depending on whether he's seen internally as the right choice for me. But get involved in the comments. Let me know what you think regarding Michael Carrick. So let's go through some transfer news. So there's been a lot of talk actually around the striker position. So I'm going to leave the midfield news until the end, the daily midfield update that we've been going through. So this is coming from Santi, who's quite a decent source, saying that Manchester United is showing interest in signing Rennes forward Kader Meïté. If one of their attackers leave, Al Hilal are pushing to sign him, but he hasn't made a decision. Now, that's an interesting profile. Obviously, I think we have been linked with him before. Young, talent, looks like a very talented player. And there's another report coming out saying that Manchester United, the latest side to show interest in Rennes striker Mohamed Meïté per reports, and could stunningly ambush Crystal Palace and Al Hilal's attempt to sign him. The 18-year-old is emerging as one of France's most in-demand young talents, and we understand that, including United, as many as 9 clubs are interested in signing him. Al Hilal have already tabled a hefty €40 million, so £35 million bid as they attempt to lure him to Saudi Arabia, but sources indicate that the player is not convinced that a move to the Gulf state is right for his career. Goes on to say Chelsea, Tottenham, Villa, Newcastle, Brentford and Brighton have all sent scouts to watch him in recent weeks, but it says, however, in a significant twist, Foot Meccano now report that United are waiting in an ambush position as they consider a move for their own for the teenager. It's claimed that the Red Devils could make a move for him this month, but it will depend on whether Joshua Zirkzee leaves the club. There's been an update coming out from the Gazzetta today, Italian media, take with a pinch of salt, suggesting that Juventus are maybe trying to make a late move to go for Juventus. I'm sorry, to go for Zirkzee. Obviously, we know there's interest from Roma as well. So so that's one to potentially keep an eye on. It goes on to say, he's 6'4", actually looks like a decent player as well. Interest in Meïté is certainly ramping up, and United are keen to add more promising youngsters to their squad. So this is a situation to keep a close eye on. So that's an interesting report potentially regarding the striker situation, where effectively what it feels like going off of those 2 reports is that there's potential interest from United in Meïté. Looks a good, young, promising player, 6'4". He does look pretty decent from the very brief research that I've done. I'm no expert, so let everyone know in the comments if you think he'd be a good shout or not. But if Zirkzee goes, then maybe we bring in someone younger like that, because at the moment, I don't see where Zirkzee fits in this team, because Cunha can't even get in the first 11 at the moment. I think that might be different for the Fulham game. I think we might see a little bit of rotation because it's going to be a slightly different game, I think personally, but that's for us to worry about, as the week goes on. And then bringing in a young, promising striker, somebody that's got similar skill set, like tall and quite quick as well, a little bit like Sesko. Not a bad shout. So that's an interesting profile. We'll keep an eye on that one and see how that plays out. It feels, and if teams are coming in January, that could be one to keep an eye on. But yeah, we'll wait and see, because if Zirkzee does go and you get the money or the obligation to buy, spend it on a young striker. You've got a like for like, and then we're no worse off, in my opinion, because like I said, Zirkzee's not really playing, and I can't see where he fits in the squad at the moment with the change in formation as well. What's he going to play in the 10? But then you've got Mount, that I think's been better this season, potentially to play as the 10 if Bruno needs resting. You've got Mainu, you could play there. Cunha could play there. You could play Ahmad there. Like, I'd play all of those, I think, ahead of Zirkzee in this new sort of shape and system. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one. Give us your thoughts down below. And there's been another striker as well linked with us. So Ben Jacobs said that Manchester United are one of the clubs exploring a deal for Levante striker Etta Ayong. Barcelona, Real Madrid and Arsenal are also interested. Now, Ben Jacobs has long linked us with interest in Etta Ayong as well. Again, another good, young, promising striker to bring in. So maybe we are starting to look at potentially Xerxes replacements, where if we do let him go at the end of this transfer window, bring in an actual number 9 striker to help with Sesko and have a rotation option up front. Although we've seen, like I said, under Carrick and Bumo's been doing really well up there. Cunha can play there, Sesko can play there. So I think we've actually got options up there. But interesting profile as a player. Right, now keeping with the striker situation, there's been a report from the Manchester Evening News saying, according to reports, let me rephrase that for you. According to reports, Mateta is reportedly hoping Man United make a move for him this January as he looks to leave Selhurst Park. The Frenchman was linked with United last summer following a strong goal-scoring run in London. Mateta has informed Palace of his desire to leave, with his preference believed to be a Champions League club. According to reports, Mateta is hoping United make a move for him in January. However, there is said to not be any concrete interest from Michael Carrick's side at this stage. His contract runs till 2027. He's expected to command a £35 million fee. So there is a few murmurings around potentially Mateta, because we did have interest in him in the summer. I think he's a good striker. I think he would have done a really good job for us up front as well. But don't know whether we're going to be making those sort of deals. And a lot of that would depend, I think, on Xerxes going. If Xerxes goes, then maybe they do look to bring in. I can see them going for like a younger profile, maybe Mete or Ayong, if they're the profiles that we look at. But we'll wait and see how it all plays out. Give us your shouts on that in the comments below. Now let's go through the midfield news. Team Talk, we're following up on the reports I brought you over the weekend from the, I think it was Nave Salt in the Daily Mail, who's a good source, and Pete Hall as well at iPaper, where they're effectively saying a similar thing around the midfield. So Talk Sport saying that Man United are looking to sign 2 of Elliot Anderson, Carlos Baleba and Adam Wharton to replace Casemiro this summer. It can take around £200 million to complete the signing. So further reports around United wanting 2 of the 3, whether that's, Baleba and Anderson, which would be my preference, or Baleba and Wharton, or Anderson and Wharton, whichever ones we can get, and are going to be around £200 million. Although the report the other day was saying Baleba could be available for a little bit cheaper, but we'll wait and see. They're the 3 main names, isn't it, that we're linked with in the midfield, and we'll have to see how all of that plays out. In terms of midfielders for January, Romano still saying that we have, had talks again for Ndidi. So Man United have again been offered the possibility to go for Ndidi. But at the moment, still not proceeding. Man United are exploring the market opportunities in midfield in case there's an opportunity. They could do something in midfield in this final week. It's not something guaranteed, but it's something that Man United will assess in the next days. So there are, according to Romano, we've been offered Wilfred Ndidi again, which feels plausible as a short-term loan between now and the end of the season. If our targets are not available, unless someone makes a madness or a mad move for one of the midfielders that we're looking for. And actually, one player to keep an eye on could be Ederson, because I've read a report today suggesting that Newcastle and Atletico Madrid might possibly be going in for Ederson. He's been a long-standing target of ours as well. So if something like that happens, then maybe United could make a move at the end of this week on midfielders. If not, potentially it could be Wilfred Ndidi on loan, but we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. And then the final story I've got for you is regarding Diomande. Rich Fay said that Manchester United are expected to target a left winger in the summer after failing to sign Antoine Semenyo in January, with Jan Diomande still of interest. So I think I would put him on the list of potential targets, because it feels like this summer is going to be midfield and left winger. If we've got money, or maybe we can do something else in the squad with fullback or defender, depending on Maguire's situation. But it looks like they're going to heavily invest in the midfield and a left winger, and maybe Diomande. Diomande might be a shout regarding that, although Dorgy Best is doing his bits at the moment. Would we need another winger, or do you just go with that, because he has been absolutely on fire for the last few weeks as well? And just any opportunity to talk about his goal yesterday, I'm going to take it. But let me know what you think regarding that in the comments below. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.